Layla, a poor fisherwoman, and her 6-year-old daughter Zara lived a simple life by the river. They made do with what the water gave them, but despite their struggles, they found contentment in their humble world. One evening, as Layla paddled her wooden boat through the calm, gray water, Zara noticed the storm approaching. "Mommy, the clouds look angry," Zara whispered. "They're just tired, my love," Layla said, trying to ease her daughter's worry. "Let's get home before they start crying." But as the wind picked up and the water began to churn, Layla knew something was wrong. As they turned toward the shore, Layla spotted a dark figure floating in the water. At first, she thought it was driftwood, but as it turned, she saw a hand. Without hesitation, she dove into the water. The current was strong, but Layla fought it. The man was tall, dressed in expensive clothes, his body limp. With all her strength, Layla pulled him into the boat, her heart pounding. She could feel his pulse, faint but there. She wrapped him in her shawl, paddling furiously to shore. Zara, wide-eyed, asked, "Mommy, is he dead?" "No, my baby," Layla reassured her. "But he's close." Layla carried the man into their small hut, working tirelessly to keep him alive through the night. When his eyes opened at dawn, he was disoriented, confused. "Where am I?" he asked weakly. "You're safe," Layla replied. "You almost drowned in the river." The man's name was Caleb, though it took several days for him to recover enough to speak. He didn't seem like an ordinary man. His clothes, his demeanor, the sadness in his eyes, they all hinted at a life far different from Layla's. He refused to eat at first, but Zara insisted, bringing him bowls of fish stew until he finally ate. He even fixed Zara's old doll with thread, a small gesture that surprised Layla. "I'm Caleb," he said one day, his voice quiet. "Thank you for saving me." Layla smiled. "You're welcome, Caleb, whoever you are." Days turned into weeks, and Caleb, though still haunted by his past, began to help around the house. He fetched water, mended nets, and played with Zara. Layla noticed the emptiness in his eyes, a weight that seemed to come from a life far removed from the one he was now leading. One evening, after days of silence, Layla asked, "Caleb, what really happened to you?" His voice trembled as he spoke. "I had a family once, a wife and a daughter. They died in a car accident 6 months ago. My best friend, Evan, was supposed to handle things, but I trusted him more than anyone." Layla's heart broke as Caleb explained how his life had fallen apart after losing his family. "I came to the river that night to end it all," he whispered. "But I didn't. I was saved, but I don't know why." "Because you still have something to live for," Layla said softly. "You just don't see it yet." The words hung in the air, heavy with truth. Caleb looked at her, his eyes softening for the first time in weeks. As time went on, Caleb began to heal, but his past still lingered in his nightmares. Layla understood his pain. She had lost her husband years ago in a fishing accident. Grief was a shadow that never truly left. One evening, Caleb sat by the river, deep in thought. "I used to think the world ended when they died," he said, his voice quiet. Layla said nothing, knowing that sometimes silence spoke louder than words. "I thought if I had money, I could fix everything. But I lost them, and I realized I'd built an empire that couldn't buy peace." Caleb looked at Layla, his gaze full of gratitude. "You live in a house that leaks when it rains, and yet you smile more than anyone I've ever known." Layla smiled softly. "Happiness doesn't always come from what we have. Sometimes it comes from who we have." One day, Caleb and Layla went to the market together. As they walked, the women stared at Caleb, surprised to see him in simple clothes, carrying fish baskets. But Caleb laughed it off. When they returned home, he bought Zara a small pink ribbon for her hair, and Layla couldn't help but smile. Zara's innocent joy was contagious, and Layla felt a warmth she hadn't experienced in years. She noticed the change in Caleb. He was no longer the man who had once sought to end his life. The pain in his eyes had softened, replaced by something new, a spark of hope. But one morning, Caleb found a torn newspaper by the river. His heart stopped when he saw the headline. "Coal Industries declares new CEO. Partner takes over after owner's death presumed." His picture was there, under the words "the late Caleb Cole." The shock hit him hard. Evan, his best friend, had betrayed him, taking everything Caleb had worked for, even his life. He handed the paper to Layla, his hands trembling. "That's Evan. He's taken everything." Layla saw the anger in his eyes. "Don't let him win. Go back, Caleb. Take back what's yours." Caleb turned to her, a mixture of sadness and determination in his eyes. I lost everything. What's left to fight for? You still have life, Layla said firmly. You still have purpose. God didn't let you drown because he's not done with you yet. The words ignited something inside Caleb. The fire of purpose he had thought lost forever began to burn again. Later that night, Caleb called his old business partner, Mark. He learned that Evan had tampered with his car, causing the accident that killed his wife and daughter. It had been no accident at all. It was a betrayal, a calculated move to take everything Caleb owned. Caleb was determined to face Evan, to reclaim what was his. The next day, Mark and Caleb set out for the city. No one recognized Caleb, and he walked into his old office, his eyes filled with resolve. Evan, seeing Caleb, froze, pale with fear. You were supposed to die, Evan muttered, his voice shaky. I buried you in my mind. You're not here. Caleb slammed a folder on the desk, revealing evidence of Evan's crimes. Bank transfers, forged signatures, and messages. Evan's face twisted in panic as he realized the truth. You wanted me dead, Caleb said coldly. And now, you'll face the consequences. Evan reached for a knife, but before he could act, the police burst in, arresting him. The betrayal that had nearly destroyed Caleb was finally exposed, and justice prevailed. A month later, Evan was sentenced to life imprisonment. The story made headlines, but Caleb didn't celebrate. Instead, he returned to where everything had started, the river. Layla and Zara were waiting for him. When Zara saw him, she ran into his arms, her laughter filling the air. Layla smiled softly, her eyes full of tears. You did it, she said. Caleb nodded, his heart lighter than it had been in years. We did. That evening, as they sat together, Caleb reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver ring. Layla, will you marry me? Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, yes. And so, a new chapter began. Caleb, Layla, and Zara rebuilt their lives, not in wealth, but in love. Every weekend, they would return to the river, the place where it all began. There, amidst the quiet beauty of the water, they found peace, healing, and a love that would never drown.